Hey, what's up, what's up?
All your favorite artists.
Check it out.
Say my name.
DJ Khaled.
This is Mila J.
Bruno Mars.
On hot7025fm.com.
What's going on, everybody? It's your main man, 360, the poet from the Morning Wood, and I'm here to talk to you about the Sci-Fi Center. It's your Vegas home for science fiction, horror, and fantasy. From comic books, toys, and posters to movie screenings and live events, they've got you covered. Located at 900 Caron Avenue, Suite B209, give them a call, 702-900-4335, or reach them at thescificenter.com.
Hey, it's Icarice, and I'm here to tell you about Hotcast for Podcasting. We are a podcasting studio located in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the Hot 702.5 FM studios. You can book online at hot7025fm.com. Just click on Hotcast. You can book and find your times right there. Thank you for booking with Hotcast for Podcasting.
Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot7025fm.com.
It's your main man, 360, the poet from the Morning Wood. And are you looking for the perfect drink? Well, you found it. Mimosa Royale is the perfect combination of California's sparkling white wine and natural juice that is both tasty and refreshing. No artificial colors or flavors, no sugar added, and it's gluten-free. As the world's first ready-to-drink mimosa, Mimosa Royale is perfect for any occasion, day or night. You no longer have to drink 12 of those seltzers just to get that perfect buzz. At 8% alcohol, Mimosa Royale is the perfect drink to party with. Offered in a variety of flavors and sizes, you are bound to find a Mimosa Royale that you'll love. We have berry, mango, apple, and orange, with more flavors to come. Mimosa Royale is the most award-winning flavored wine that serves in bottles or cans. You can find them online at drinkmimosa.com or find them at your local liquor store. Ask for it by name. Mimosa Royale.
Tune in now on hot7025fm.com.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Savage, and we are starting Savage Conversations as of now. So, thank you for tuning in. I know you guys have probably seen me on previous shows, but what we're going to talk about this time is why I'm starting this show, right? So, a little introduction. My name is Devin Savage. Most people know me as Savage. I've been an entertainer in Las Vegas for some time. I've bounced around in different professions, but I think it's time to start talking to the people. I have a lot of deep conversations outside the lines that people don't hear about, whether it's in my church or between friends. Sometimes it's on live on TikTok or Facebook or whatever. But I decided that I want to start doing a show every week so that, one, I can start interacting with you guys to have a personal experience, but two, I can start sharing some of this. Some of my friends said to do so, so I took their advice for once. I want to start out with a Bible verse just because this will be God-driven. So God put me in this position, so let's give him some glory on this. So today I chose Proverbs 11:25. It says, "The generous soul will be made rich, and he who waters will also be watered himself." One of the things I did want to talk about is having a cup filled by yourself, right? So a lot of people don't pour into themselves before they pour into others. One of the conversations that this kind of diverts from is when you're on an airplane, if you've ever ridden it, they talk about how if anything was to happen, turbulence was to get crazy, right? And the oxygen mask were to drop down, they always say to put it on yourself first before you put it on your child or your loved one or your friends or anybody near you. And the reason being is because you can't help others until you first help yourself. If you're going to pass away in a mix, you start to put yourself in a position of vulnerability. Now, we are going to talk about vulnerability, but that's not what I mean. So pour into yourself first. Give yourself love. Give yourself gratitude. Give yourself affection. Give yourself acknowledgement. Look at you as God's masterpiece. Cherish yourself. And when you do so, then you can pour into other people. And I think a lot of times we forget about this topic. We forget about affirmations in the morning. We forget about being beautiful is just in the eyes of the perceiver and in the believer. So That's what I wanted to touch on for the Bible verse. Now, what's to come in this show? The reason I started Savage Conversations, like I said, is to create an opening for people to hear these deep conversations that I'm having outside of this, but also to bring some people in. So I have some good guests that are coming up in the next few months, possibly even next week. We're going to see with time availability. And if you guys have anybody you think would be good, please feel free to shout that out or put them in the comments, or my social media handles are on the flyer, but it's Ask Mr. Savage on Instagram and also TikTok. So if you think of anybody that could be a good fit to have some savage conversations, I'm all ears and all eyes to that conversation. Let's see. So the focus of the show, I want to talk about vulnerability. I want to talk about relationships. I want to talk about men in modern days. I want to talk about what's working, what's not. You've heard of like Top G, you've heard of Kevin Samuels, but I really want to gracefully talk about what I believe to be difficult in modern dating, what I believe to be difficult in modern times as a man. I can't really speak to what it's like to be a woman. I have a bunch of sisters. I have a mother that I cherish and love. But again, my perspective is from a visual standpoint, but not a stand-in standpoint. So I'm open to the opinions of it. I have my own perceptions, but I would like to share what men think and what I think as a man. I don't speak for all men, but I have a general consensus, so I'm excited to share that. I definitely want to get vulnerable. I've been talking about it lately on my Instagram. I talked about how this Sunday at church, I went the entire time and I just cried. Right? And it wasn't because I was happy, or it wasn't because I was sad, or it was simply because it was a release. A lot of times in our life, we don't feel as men that it's okay to be emotional. We don't feel like it's okay to express ourselves in any way but happy or angry or even sexual, right? Like sometimes it's hard for us to say, hey, that hurt my feelings, or I don't like how you're moving this way, or I don't like this, right? And I think that men need to do it more. When people look at me, right, and this is from outside opinions, it's not necessarily how I look at myself, but a lot of times, unless I'm dressed like this, they see a thug or a young black man, or even an old black man. I don't know, I'm getting a little dark circles and stuff as I get older, but they see an angry black man for the most part, because I have a stoic face, I'm aggressive by nature, my demeanor, and they never dive deeper. And the ones that do are the only ones I let close, and that's not many. But I think that when someone was to hear someone like myself, they see someone like me, and they hear an intellectual perspective as well as vulnerability, and go, hey, yeah, I have anger issues. Hey, I have codependency problems. There's things about myself I work on. I've gone to therapy. I have had failed relationships, but I'm working on me. I have a close relationship with God. I'm far from perfect, but I do want love. Things like this, right? Things that they wouldn't expect to come out of my mouth. I think more people need to talk about it. I think more men need to be open about it. And I think the deeper we can get with our perspective, the closer we can get to other people that might match our views and our values. I really don't feel like we should hold off on anything on here. I think we should be able to talk about anything and everything. As vulnerable as it gets, it's going to offend some. And if it does, I'm sorry. Not really, but, maybe go to therapy or something. If someone else's truth offends you, then I have programs for that. We can work on it together. One of the things I like to accredit to, I started going to a program called Celebrate Recovery, right? And everyone has this perception that it's only for alcoholics or drug addicts, and I don't have either one of those problems. But no, it's for people that want to work on addictions that they can't understand, right? So I'm addicted to anger or to codependency, and not in the sense that people would think. Codependency to me isn't that I need someone else for something, right? Like I'm not in need for another person to make me successful or feel whole. It means that I become so attached to people I care for that their emotions can impact my feelings, right? So if my partner is unhappy, then I'll be unhappy. If they're upset, I'll be upset. If they're ecstatic, I'm ecstatic. That codependency can lead to depression when someone else is depressed. It can lead to confusion, and sometimes it can lead to bigger problems, infidelity or anger, a lot of things, right? So I think that detaching in a healthy way to where you allow someone to be themselves and you become yourself is something that a quality I'd like to learn, especially having a daughter. I think I need to be able to control my emotions to a finite point. And I think that the better that I can become at understanding each emotion and keeping a good level of stoicism so that I can show my daughter that it's okay to feel a way, but not react a way. And I don't have that under wraps yet, especially with my temper. So it's things I want to work on. But this is what I'm talking about when I talk about savage conversations. I want to talk about how deep can we get, and who better to start with than me? What would I look like getting on here and talking about what other men do or what other women do or what people do in relationships if I'm not willing to talk about myself in the same way and break down the same things that I think that need to be worked on from an outside perspective? So as we move forward in this show and as we continue to grow, we're going to dive into deeper conversations. And some things I'd like you guys to do is as you watch these shows, I want you to think of some topics, some things that you're curious on a male perspective on. Women, ladies, you're welcome to do so. If you think, hey, why do men think this way? Or why do they do this when they mean this? If this is something you want to ask, feel free to ask. I have an email here. You can send it to the email or you can comment on my social media handles. It's better if you comment on the page itself. That way the topic can be talked about by all of the people that come on here. There's a lot of great perspectives on this radio show, and I think that everybody can get valuable information from here. I also think men, there's some things that you might want to talk about. And if you're not comfortable talking about it yourself, you're welcome to reach out anonymously. We can set something like that up to where you can ask questions, but nobody knows who's asking the question. This isn't a place to make you feel uncomfortable, even though discomfort is how you grow. But I believe that we can, as a group of men, grow to be better fathers, better partners, better husbands, if we're willing to do the work on ourselves. Now, there are some great examples out there. There's some great men, there's some great fathers, there's some great husbands, and I know some. But I'm speaking to the masses, right? Divorce rate being at 56%, and that's just recorded divorce. That doesn't mean that there's another percentage of people that are married but unhappy. Why? Why is monogamy hard to talk about? Why do people not have an understanding? Why is social media the downfall of relationships? These are all conversations I'd like to have. These are all things that people are afraid to speak their mind on because they don't want to offend someone they're with or someone they're around. I mean, I'd prefer not to talk about politics, but I'm not opposed because, again, this will be an unapologetic show. I'm not sorry for telling the truth or telling my truth. If it makes you feel a way, I'm sorry for making you feel a way. But again, to an extent, I want you to understand that if my truth offends you, then there's something within yourself that you got to fix, because my truth could simply be my truth. It doesn't have to be yours. What someone believes to be true about me, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it's my choice to accept it as my own. And a lot of people take on opinions as their own. My whole life, I've been not black enough, not white enough, not tall enough. I've been a lot of not enough things. But to me, I'm fucking enough. And the minute I was able to realize that, and realize what I bring to the table and who I am as a person and what type of man I want to be, what type of father I want to be, then other people's opinion don't matter, right? It's fine to take criticism. There's always room for growth. But there's a difference between criticism and self-sabotage. Are you going to sit down and look at yourself and say, well, maybe I should be a little bit taller? Yeah, I make jokes about it all the time, right? People ask me how I'm doing. It's like, oh, doing good, just trying to get taller. And it's a quick joke I like to say because to me it's a conversation starter, and it's pointing out an insecurity that I had for a long time that I no longer have. I'm not going to get any taller. It's not going to change at 30. But shit, I got a beard, so we're here. You know what I mean? Like, we're trying our best. It's full. I play with that. I cut it up and down. I got tattoos. I mean, these are things I can control. I can control how I look in the gym. I can control how I approach people. I can control my education or my intellectual conversations. So the things within my control, if I can work on those to get better, then I can be a mental giant, even if I'm not 6'1". But, we're going to keep talking to God about it. Because they say, for with God, anything shall be impossible. Or if anything shall be possible, excuse me. So, excuse me with the water, too. I didn't realize talking so much causes me to be a little parched. All right. So I wanted to talk about the quote of the day. So my quote of the day is, empty barrels make the most noise. What does that mean? Well, you can look at it a bunch of different ways, right? People in your circle that make the most noise. I'm not talking about like boisterous or rambunctious people or obnoxious, because being an extrovert tend to be obnoxious, and that's fine. That's not a problem. What I mean is the haters, the ones that are the quickest to point things out to you that you're doing wrong, or the exes that are quick to tell you, where you fell short. People that only point at you for problems but have no accountability tend to make the loudest noise. But again, right, we talked at the beginning of this show. The very beginning I said, you have to fill up your cup first. So if empty barrels make the most noise, they haven't filled themselves. And if you don't love yourself and you haven't worked on yourself and you can't point out the problems that you may be having, how can you truly point out somebody else's flaws? It's easy to point fingers until you're looking in the mirror, right? So if you wanted to pursue something, if you needed a sign or you had a new dream or an aspiration or a new opportunity presented itself and you just weren't sure about it because some people are being skeptic or pessimistic or being negative, whether it's family or friends, do it. Just do it. Why not? Now, I'm not saying to do anything illegal, so anybody could be watching that's contemplating doing some crazy shit. Like, this is not your sign to do that. But if there's any opportunists out there that have been contemplating opening a new business or writing a book or pursuing a new love interest or trying to step out of your comfort zone, and the only thing stopping you is the people around you that are telling you pessimistic comments or negative comments, please do it. There's always going to be haters. There's always going to be people telling you negative things, right? There's always going to be people that think you should do something that you're not doing, right? I love to refer back to God, right? When Jesus was out here, Judas was the quickest one to tell him he needed to change things. He needed to focus on making more money, and he needed to, exactly, the loudest boos come from the cheapest seats. I agree. Appreciate it. Oh, and pay attention to that gentleman there, too. I'm going to have him on the show here later in the season, so pay attention to that. I'm glad he popped up. But Judas himself was always telling Jesus on what he needed to fix or how he needed to make more income or how he needed to start charging people for his sermons. And Jesus had a vision. He knew what he was here to do. He knew why he came. He knew his purpose. He knew God's will, and he fulfilled it. That's what he came for. But imagine if he got distracted. Imagine if he listened to other people that told him not to do something or why it was a bad idea. When you let these people get in your head, they start telling you things that you never needed to know, never needed to hear about. And that's the problem nowadays. I contemplated starting a show for years, and I let everybody talk me out of it, including myself. Well, what am I going to talk about, right? Because I wasn't vulnerable. I wasn't willing to be. I didn't want to talk about myself. That's the last thing I wanted to talk about. Why get on here and talk about myself? That makes me vulnerable. That makes me a topic of conversation. I don't want to be in the spotlight, not for any troubled reasons, but again, if you're unwilling to be vulnerable, there's no growth, right? Like, the first time you go to the gym, you're not in the shape you want to be in. You don't want to take pictures or videos, but you have to. You can't track progress without knowing where you started. That's why I wanted to do this show. That's why I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to bring this out because people need to hear that it's important to be you. It's important to trust yourself, trust your intuition, trust your gut, know where you're headed. And if you don't know where you're headed, pray on it, think on it, meditate on it. Whatever you need to do, but learn to hear your own voice and silence others before you make decisions. It's good to have influences. It's good to have people. It's good to have a circle of people that you trust that are willing to go to bat for you. But you also need discernment. You need to make sure that the decisions you're making are of your own choice while weighing other people's opinion, and not so much of other people's opinion with a little smidge of yours. Does that make sense? I hope so, because you can't respond. So, all right, let's see. Later in the show, I want to bring this up now so that if you have anybody that's waiting to get off or hasn't tuned in yet, if you haven't shared this on Facebook or on Instagram or to your friends in messages or on YouTube, if you haven't shared this, there's going to be a segment here towards the end, about 20 minutes or so, where it's called Ask Mr. Savage, where I want people that are paying attention, that are watching, whether it's on Facebook or listening in. If you have my number, you're welcome to text me. If you don't, you're welcome to comment on whichever link you're watching. But if you have anything you want to talk about, or you want me to answer from my perspective, or you're curious about whether it's about me or about life or about relationships or about men, feel free. And you don't necessarily have to wait until the segment, right? If you have some good comments that are popping up there, I'm trying my best to pay attention to the comments that pop up as well as I'm talking. But if you have any good topics that you want to ask, I'm all for it, because the reason I named this show Savage Conversations is because it's going to be about topics that don't always come from me. I don't have all the ideas. I don't have everything people want to talk about. I was talking about with someone, and I don't like using names just because if they wanted to be on here, they'd be on here. But I was talking with someone about men and monogamy, right? Like, I can speak to myself being in a environment that I've been in for years, that trust issues have come to an all-time high. Seeing what I've seen and seeing the infidelity and seeing that what it takes for someone that is so loyal and so faithful to break with the right game or the right dude around them, right, or right woman, to me has created nothing but trust issues. And it's not fair to project on the next person, the next partner, but it happens, right? So one of the things I wanted to talk about is loyalty. Loyalty is black and white. There's no gray area. There's no room for, well, I can be loyal to this, but not loyal to this. Excuse me. I can be loyal to this person, but not to this person, or my loyalty is all contingent based off of our relationship. No, either you're loyal or you're not. Now, I do believe people can change. I believe people that cheated in the past can change their character and change to be a faithful person. I think that kids grow up, you know. I've been unfaithful in my past before. Not a recent past, but when I was younger, right, high school area, coming out of high school, you know, there was times where I wasn't 100% faithful, and to me, it was just all about justifying. But as I've gotten older, I realize I don't necessarily believe in karma, but I do believe in everything in the dark will come to light. And it's got to align with my goals, right? So, stuck in traffic. Thank you guys for the comments, by the way. Thank you, everyone who's listening in and has shared it with their friends and is watching on Facebook right now, whether they're friends of mine or they don't know me at all, or listening to the radio show or tuning in at all. Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it. I look forward to the conversations. I really do love you guys. So thank you for that. I just want to say that too. When it comes to loyalty, right, when it comes to choosing, it's about aligning goals for me. I'm a very logical thinker. Don't get me wrong, I have emotions, and I'm still not in control of them. I'm working on it, but it's a work in progress. When it comes to loyalty, if I have the goal of being a husband, I want to get married, and my next goal is the person I'm with, I want to take that to marriage. I want to get married. I want to have kids. I want a future. What I do within that relationship matters if that aligns with my goals. But if I want to get married and I want to be a husband, and I want to make six figures, I want to be successful, but I'm not working and I'm cheating, that I'm not following my own goals. I'm cheating myself before my partner. I'm making it impossible to reach my goals, right? And a lot of people do that, right? They'll say, well, I really want to be, I want to have my summer body, right? I want to get in shape. I'm not going to the gym. So it's a dream, but it's not a goal, right? A dream is just something you envision, but don't put any work towards, right? It's something you can have pop in your head 100 times, but it never means anything. But a goal is a dream that you saw and you believe is possible, so you're creating a plan of action. So if your goal is to get in shape, go to the gym. If your dream is to be in shape, then look at other people that are in shape, because you're not going to get it without working. It's the same thing with the relationship. It's the same thing in work and business. You know, it's okay to fail, right? It's okay to not be in the shape you want. It's okay to walk in overweight to the gym, or underweight, or you don't feel attractive. That's fine. Everyone has at one point walked in that way. No one just wakes up and goes to the gym and says, I'm in the best shape of my life. It's not how it goes. But your dreams have to align to your goals. And the same thing with the relationship and same thing with loyalty. It all trickles down, right? If your goals don't align to your end result of a relationship, a friendship, or a business relationship, whatever, you have to be loyal to yourself first. If you say, I'm going to go to the gym every day, or if you say, I'm going to be the best husband or boyfriend or fiance or girlfriend or whatever that I can, agreed, then you're going to align your goals and everyday goals to do that. If you tell yourself that, I kind of want to be successful, right? I kind of want to get in shape, right? And I should probably watch what I eat. I'm gonna slow up on soda, and I kind of want to be a husband. I do, but like, man, she's fine, and she's fine, and then this girl's blowing me up, and it's like, nah, you don't want to be a husband. You just want attention, right? And there's a lot of people that want to be married but don't want to be a husband. That's two different things, right? When I say I want to be a husband, I want a covenant commitment. I want a person. I want someone that when I come home, they're the only person I see, right? Other than obviously kids. I want to be the last thought on their mind when they're thinking about deep decisions. I want to become conjoined in one. I want in sickness and health. I want when something happens, I'm who they call. I want someone to see them and think of me and see me and think of them. I want a forever and a right now, right? But it didn't happen overnight. It's not who I was before, right? It's realizing the things and the work I have to put in on myself to get there. If I want to be a husband and I want a wife to be successful and I want her to have her stuff together, I want her to make me a better man, I want her to be healed, or at least healing. I want her to understand her past traumas, be working on them. I want her to be okay with the gym or okay with my lifestyle. She doesn't have to be athletic or in the gym, but be okay with my lifestyle and me working out. If I want all these things, it's easy to create a wish list, right, of what you want. But you got to become that person that the other would want, right? So if I want all these things in a wife, well, what would that wife want in a husband? Would she want him healed? Would she want him successful? Would she want him on his goals? Would she want him moving in the direction of healing himself or understanding his past traumas? If all those things to be true, I must first become what she would want if I'm going to attract who she is. People have unrealistic expectations of who they can obtain because they think that looks are enough or they think that money is enough. And yeah, it is for some. It's a facade and it's a shallow alignment. Right? Like anybody can make do with what they have with someone who has a bunch of money or someone that's super physically attractive, right? Like you can make do, but is it genuine connection? Who knows, right? Like everyone wants to be outside until it gets hot. Now they're looking for shade. And I think people do the same thing in relationships. I want the next best thing. I want the shiny ball. I want the money. I want the attractive. I want the superstar. I want the NFL player. I want the NBA player. It's like, do you? Because he on the road 9 months. He makes good money, but he'll never see you. You can have everything you want, but you're going to be lonely. What about those nights where you want someone to cuddle up with you? They on the road. They out there doing their thing, right? Now you upset. Now you want to cheat, right? Now you want to see someone else. Now you want to buy something more. You want to spend more money. You want to compensate with vices. You want to drink or you want to smoke or whatever. You got to find happiness within yourself first. And then you got to align your goals. And everyone's chasing something, right? It's just, do you want to be the moth or the flame? And I think that's what gets difficult. But, what do I know? Let's see. I think it's important to remember that in regards to a partner, men, I think it's really important to compromise while remembering your worth. Compromise is important. But knowing the person and what they want speaks volumes to them about if you care. If you care. I've learned over time, And like I said, in CR, it's a lot of I and me statements. It's a lot of, what can I do better? What can I change? Where's my accountability? And I think if you focus on those things first, and then learn your partner or your friend or your brother or your homie or your family member that you're rekindling with, whatever the relationship is, I think if you take the time to learn that person and then take full accountability for what you can control within yourself, you can come up with a compromise for everybody if both parties want to, right? Let's see. All right, so I got a question that says, maybe off topic, but it says, do you truly believe everyone out there has a soulmate, or they're a person or someone that they're supposed to end up with? It's a good question. It's a good question. I'll say this. I believe there is somebody for everybody. And I believe God created us that way, to where we're meant to be with somebody. But I think the issue nowadays is when something's broken, we throw it away or we replace it, right? Your screen gets cracked. You replace it. Your phone breaks. You just get the newest version. Your car breaks down. You don't go to a mechanic as much unless you can't afford to get a new car. But if you can afford the newer version, most people trade out. And they've been doing that a lot with their partners. A lot of times when things start to break in the relationship and the communication is breaking, they start looking outside the relationship to fix it. They start trying to find someone to compensate on the things that are lack thereof. So to answer your question directly, yes, I do believe that there's someone out there for everybody. There's a person or a soulmate. I think a lot of people might pass up on those because they want the next best thing. And I think that sometimes soulmates are the one that's going to put in the work with you, not the one that's perfect for you. People are looking for perfection, right? But if you were to take a second, and not everyone is this blessed to do so, but if you have grandparents in your life, take a second and ask them, if they're still married, how do you guys make it work, right? Like a set of my grandparents have been married for 50 years, right? And I asked, what's the secret? And I used to work for AT&T, and when I drive around and I met an old couple that had been together, I'd always ask, like, what's the secret to your long relationship? How have you guys made it work for 30 years, 25 years, 50 years, 60 years, whatever? And there's some different answers, but for a consensus, the average answer was whenever we'd have problems, we would fix them. It was never perfect. They've had their disputes, they've had disagreements, but they're willing to put in the work, right? You got to think, the men back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s and 70s would never hire out when something broke in the house. They wouldn't. There wasn't handymen that would come to the house. They found a way to fix it. They learned. There wasn't YouTube. They just trial and error. It's just how things were. And it's the same thing in relationships. There were, I'm sure, difficult times, and they've said that too, right? But they're willing to put in the work to fix it. You also got to think exposure. So when we're talking about soulmates and that person, and I always resort back to older because I think that that's a good place to start, because marriages were a lot more successful in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Why? I mean, it's my opinion, but a husband and a wife would tend to be married young. They'd be married, late teens, early 20s, and start their family or whatever. But the woman was only exposed to a select number of men, right? So once they were married, they would meet, obviously, the husband's family. They would have their neighbors. They'd have the milkman, the mailman, and that's really it, which is where the whole Sancho came from, like the milkman did it or the mailman did it, right? Because that was their only exposure to infidelity or to temptation, right? If you look at today, I can be dating a woman, and at any moment, Chris Brown could message her. Trey Songz, NFL players, their celebrity crush can end up in Vegas. There's so much exposure that I'm not competing with a few of the men down the street. I'm competing with the entire world because it's at our fingertips. And now, like I said earlier, to the shiny ball concept, that if someone can just set it down and have a new opportunity to pick up something different, a lot of times people will trade it in to think that the newer is better. But they haven't worked out all the bugs, right? Like the new iPhone. It may be the newest one, but has it been tested yet? And I think some people's soulmates are out there and they're willing to put in the work, but you're willing to put them down because you want a fun night with Chris Brown, or you want a great time with Kalani, or you want to go meet X, Y, and Z, whoever. It doesn't matter. I have firm rules in relationships. I don't date groupies. If you have a celebrity that you'll create a hall pass for, like, and I always ask this question, like, is there any celebrity that if you're married or in a relationship, would you want a hall pass for it? And if you answer anybody, that shit's out. That's out. I don't want no types of, there's no hall pass ever. You ain't getting none of that. If you ever want to trade, no. If you ever want to trade up or trade in for anybody, even for a night, I don't want it. I also don't think that in relationships you should have a bunch of people around you that are of the opposite sex. I believe men and women could be friends, and I've been proven this. I've seen it. But I also think that there's got to be strict boundaries. You can't be hanging out with your homeboys, or you can't console in your homeboys when your relationship's having issues. Like, I think there's got to be firm boundaries. And again, this all contributes back to the soulmate question. Is there someone for you? Yes. Could you have passed them up already? Yes. Could they be right in front of you, but you're looking for the newest thing? Yes. I think the ones that last the longest and have the best relationships aren't the ones that met the person, go, you're meant for me, you're the one. I think the ones that last the longest go, I'm going to stay here with you. No matter if the boat's sinking or if we don't have a boat, I'm going to ride with you until the wheels fall off. As long as you're loyal, I'll love you forever. Passion never died, but is often a victim of murder by neglect. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that is good. Passion never has to die, but is often a victim of murder by neglect. That's a good one. Do we have any questions on the Facebook? Any topics? I'm trying to see. No? Or we're approaching that time where you guys can ask some questions. I already had one, and I thought it was a good question. And don't get me wrong, when I have some co-stars, I'm definitely going to have some people answering some deep questions, because I want to talk about relationships in 50-50. I want to talk about, is the man supposed to lead? What does it mean to have gender roles in a relationship, whether it's a woman-woman, a man-man, a man-woman? What are the gender roles within a relationship? What's supposed to be appropriate? What's not? Do you believe that a man's supposed to provide and protect and a woman's supposed to nurture? Do you believe in the opposite, right? I think all these conversations could be deep, but I also believe it should have another person. I think that there's a couple people that I think can provide some great responses to what I have to ask. Because, I mean, I can give you mine, but then it ends. How do you navigate your profession with your rules for your partner? Okay. I'm assuming they mean dancing, and that's E. Carice, by the way. She's the one who runs and owns this radio station. She's amazing, so shout out to E. Thank you so much for having me, for being here, for looking out. So everyone show love to E. Carice. This is her shindig. So I would say navigating my rules with my partner, transparency, right? For one, my partner gets to know everything that I do when I do it, when it comes to my profession, me being a dancer. They're allowed to come there and watch me dance and see how I perform. It's on me to be transparent about relationships I may have, like clients or people that come in to see me, or fans. It's setting strict boundaries with people. It's difficult. It's very difficult, because just like I have trust issues within my profession because of what I've seen, I know my partner's going to have trust issues, or they could have trust issues, based off of the industry. I'm exposed to women every weekend, women that are having lustful intentions, that are drinking, that look all different types. It comes down to a deep level of trust, but I like to think that I provide a good comfort level of lack of temptation, right? I may be great in the area of lust. I may be attractive to some, but I also am not thirsty to any. I'll never chase attention, nor do I need it, unless it's from someone that I care about and I love that I want it from. But I look at my profession as simply that, a profession, a job. And as long as I can separate those, which is where Savage came from, right? So like Devin Savage is my name, but when I'm a dancer, when I perform, when I'm an entertainer, when I'm having these conversations, it is Savage. When I leave that, I'm Devin, right? I don't introduce myself as Devin much because a lot of people know me for what I've done. But as I move closer to my legal field and closer to these conversations, I do like people to see a little bit of Devin. I still have to have some mystique. I still don't want people to know everything, but I think it's important to have a very quick switch for your ego and your alter ego as opposed to your person. And I think when you can separate that line of work, and then when you go home, you're no longer the person that you were at work, I think that helps a lot for relationships. And I hope that answers your question. All right. We still have a little bit of time for any more questions. I'm going to check one more spot. Let's see. Bear with me as I look at these. Okay, Aaron. Yeah, and we're gonna get deep into that later. We don't have time today to talk about what I believe, but I would agree to an extent. I believe women are powerful. Like I said, I'm a big fan of my mom. She is a superhero, right? And she has done unbelievable things that I don't know how she did it, right? It's hard. It's hard nowadays to find a good balance in relationships. It's hard to see successful ones. People are together, and then there's so many social media relationships, right? People that are on TikTok or Instagram that have created YouTubes, they created their page based off them being a couple, and they do couple things, they do couple pranks, they do couple life, they come with us to buy a house, come with us to go to Texas, come with us to go to Australia, you know what I mean? And they include you in every aspect of the relationship. But how much is real? How much is real? What's going on behind the scenes? They're not including us in arguments unless they're facade. They're not going to truly argue and then edit it and then put it up there. Like, those are all edited videos. And I'm not saying it's all fake, but I'm just saying that there's more to a relationship than what they put online. And a lot of people will model themselves like, oh, I really want a relationship like them. And I really want a relationship like them. And I really want, nah, I don't. Cause I don't know what's real. I want to like, and this, funny enough, it's kind of hypocritical, but like, I want like an Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil relationship. Like, if I'm gonna pick a facade, I'm gonna pick one like that. Or even a Martin and Gina relationship. Martin loved Gina. He'd chase her out the door. He'd get mad and tell her step. But then as soon as she was on the leave, Gina, he's running right after her. He loved that girl. You know what I mean? Like, it's different. It's different. But these relationships now that we model after and we see is, I don't know. It's just a bunch of like buying expensive things and then playing pranks on each other. And that to me is not, I mean, it's cool. I love to buy some expensive stuff, but I'm not materialistic. I like pranks, but not that much. You know what I mean? Like, I want to disappear. Let's have deep conversations somewhere out the country, unreachable. You know what I mean? Like, that's the type of relationship I want, you know? But it's hard nowadays because we don't know what's real and what's not. People don't post their most vulnerable self. They don't post their worst moments. They don't post their issues unless they're thinking it's going to be some type of profit, right? A lot of people put on drama online just for that, for drama. It's really difficult to see what you can depict as real. And that's why I want to have real conversations on here. I want to get really vulnerable. I want to get really deep. I want to bring people on here that are willing to talk about it and be like, look, what do you think? Right? Yeah, I mean, I want real too. I want real friendships. I don't have a big circle. I've cut a lot of circle off. I got love for a lot of people. I know a lot of people, but we are not friends. We know each other. Just because you know of me and I know of you does not mean we're buddy, right? Like, my daughter don't know your name. We probably not fucking with each other. All right, let's see. We are coming down to the end of the show, the first show. And again, I just want to express my gratitude and my appreciation for all those who have tuned in. Now, it's not over yet, so don't leave yet. But I'm just letting you know that I really appreciate you tuning in. Those who have stayed the whole time, those that were only here for moments, those that just shared it but couldn't make it, and those that showed the support in any way, shape, or form. I really appreciate y'all. I think that we can do significant growth together. So, let's see. How can we end this off with a bang? I got an idea. Ooh, I'm going to save it. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do because I like this. This is on the spot. Don't worry. We didn't think about this before. If we can get some deep conversation about love in the next week, next Thursday at 4, I will share, and this is something I've never done, I will share some of my spoken word poetry on here that I have about love. Now, I'm very vulnerable about my shit. Okay, I don't like sharing my poetry because that's a deep dive into my soul. That's how I feel under the covers, under the layers. And I've always looked at poetry as weak to me, but I've always been a huge fan of poetry. I've always written lots of poetry, and I've shared that with minimal people. But I think if we're gonna talk about vulnerability and we're gonna talk about getting vulnerable, I think I need to get some vulnerability out here. So if we have a good turnout next week, and if it's something you guys want to hear, I will share at least one of my poems about love. Now, I'm not even going to begin to tell you I know anything about love or understand love, or I'm got it figured out, because I don't. But I can share my experiences. I can share what I'm looking to understand about love, and I can also share what I thought years ago about love. Some of these poems are 7, 8 years old that I liked them. Right? I like what they stood for. They had no meaning before, but they've grown to mean more as I've gotten older. I think, and I say I think a lot because I don't want you guys to believe that I'm speaking for other people. It's important to know, men, be more vulnerable. Be willing to talk about the hard stuff. Be willing to share your feelings. There's people that give a shit. And if you don't have those people around you, tune in the show. I give a shit. I care. I want to see how your mental health is. How can I help? Can I direct you in a direction to help me? Can I tell you what I read or something that might get you in a better place? Also, in relationships, no one has it figured out. No one has a guidebook to how to make this work. Parents, no one has a guidebook to how to make this work. It's all to fly your seat. Incorporate God. Incorporate discernment. Understand to be loving and to move with light. And the rest will kind of fall into place. But we need to be more vulnerable. We need to be more in tune with our emotional intelligence. We need to get deeper as a person, as people, as men. We can't do it alone because we do everything else alone. Right? We battle with our mental health or what we got going on because we're afraid to tell people how we truly feel and what's going on inside our head. Let this be a safe space for your vulnerability. Let this be a place where you can come on and truly feel like you're not being judged, because I'm not here to judge you. It's not my place. I'm not here to make you feel like your vulnerability is inaccurate or your feelings are. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Auntie. I'm not here to make you feel like I'm better than you or that I got it figured out, because I am far from it. I'm imperfection. I am troubled. I am recovering. I'm a work in progress. But I am at the same time. I love me. I am Devin Savage. I'm proud of where I'm headed. I got so much more to do. And I'd love for you to join me. Let's grow together. Let's talk about it. Let's get deep. Let's get vulnerable. At the end of the day, there's two things you got to remember. The people that love you will do it unconditionally. There should be no conditions on love. And if they've put them on there, it's not real love. And loyalty, again, is not gray. It's 100% black and white. People will either be loyal to you or they won't. And there's nothing you can do to make someone more loyal or to make someone love you if you're not being yourself. People will choose to be loyal if that's who they are in their character. And you could do everything right and people will still choose to be disloyal because that's who they are in their character. Sometimes you have to accept a snake to bite you, even though you wanted to love it. When people show you who they are, believe them. And if you choose to stay, that's your fault. So let's work on accountability this week and vulnerability. Let's come up with some topics and conversations for next time about that. And I don't know, but maybe we should get someone that a little hint, someone that I've co-hosted before on podcasts. Maybe I should get him in here. We might have gone fishing. We might have done a couple things. Maybe if you guys know who I'm talking about, and if he's not on here, you guys should start tagging him and see if we can get him on here to talk about some vulnerability and get him to open up a little bit. Because I think the people need to hear it. Those who know, and those who don't, well, we're going to end this off like this. Thank you. I love you. You're enough. You matter. I'm grateful. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to talk about next week. Thursday, 4 p.m. We're here. We're live. We'll be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Ask Mr. Savage. You can find me. And please tune into some of these other shows on here. There's some great people on here talking about some great topics. At the end of the day, who are we if we're not ourselves? Thank you.
Hi. Hey. What's up?
All your favorite artists.
Check it out. Say my name. DJ Khaled.
This is Mila J.
Bruno Mars.
On hot 7025fm.com.